This is The Gauntlet, episode 95. My name is Rich.
I'm Lowell.
And I'm Jason.
Hey guys, unfortunately Kate was unable to join us. She has this 2-week-long con crud. I don't know what it is about those Canadian cons. I heard they really make you sick.
They're just intense.
It's pretty snarly, yeah. I gather she's been kind of coping with it for a while. It was
That's a bummer. Kate, I hope you get better soon. All right, well, let's kick it off. What has been going on for you for the last month, Jason? What kind of games you been into?
This month has mostly been I've been feeling my OSR fantasy, as I like to say, in that I don't really run OSR games. I just like to pretend I do. Which is to say, I don't run OSR systems at all. I can appreciate certain things, like I like this sort of slimness of the Black Hack. I can get into that. Mm-hmm. And I tried Macchiato Monsters. That was pretty fun in terms of it has just a few. It's got some nice kind of story game-ish elements that I appreciate, but. For the most part, though, when I for me, the OSR is more about just the modules. I like to take the modules and run them in Dungeon World and World of Dungeons, and lately the Indie Hack, too. That's my mode of operation. It always has been for years. People know that about me. The other thing I did this month, which was really, really interesting and fun, is I play-tested a micro game that's going into the new codex called Wind on the Path.
Oh, you mentioned that one once before. I'm excited to hear about this.
On G+, yeah, I mentioned it real briefly. So here's the thing. We're kind of expanding into original games, for Codex. It's what a lot of the contributors who I've been in touch with want to do. And so that's what I'm kind of, and I'm happy to do it. I think it's exciting. And we're getting some decent stuff. We're getting some fun, sort of, very free-formy stuff, which is pretty cool. But this game, Wind on the Path, is a little bit more mechanically intricate than any of the others that we've had or that we have coming. What it is, it's by Jonathan Lavallee, who was a co-writer on Chill 3E, which I think we talked about last game roundup, right? Or 2 game roundups ago, whenever it was. Lowell had played it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's a co-writer on Chill 3E, and he's part of the Toronto gaming scene, further cementing the gradual Canadian takeover of the Gauntlet, which is a storyline lately. The game is cool. It's a micro game, to be sure. Its scope is pretty narrow. You can't do a whole campaign in this. It's designed to be played at conventions. The idea is, in Wind of the Path, is you have a samurai. Okay, you have a samurai on your character sheet. It's a sort of a PBTA style playbook type sheet, although there's just one type. You're just a samurai. And most of the information on your sheet is secret. You don't reveal things, unless you have to reveal it. And so you roam around the convention and find other people who are playing the game, and you duel them. Okay. Oh. And so you encounter them at the convention, you duel them. The duel is all about staring at each other, changing your position on the terrain, preparing for a strike, and then maybe doing a strike, just a single strike between the two of you. And if you push it all the way to strike, it's pretty deadly. One of the other samurais can drop pretty easily and be out. Or you can just take wounds that kind of affect you in the future. You can win the match and die. You can die you can if the other person dies first, or you can lose the match but die standing up on your feet. It's very, very cinematic. It's very samurai trope cinema type stuff, right? It's pretty cool. But here's the neat thing. You kind of set stakes in the beginning of the duel by determining where the duel is going to take place in the little fiction of this world, in a city, by a road, something like that. And that determines how many witnesses there are to the duel, okay? And so when the duel is over, whether you win or lose, if you're still alive and you're still dueling, the number of witnesses dictates how much of your revealed information stays public, so that when you face off against another samurai, they know more about you and therefore have advantages on you, right? So you're getting better by winning a duel, but your fame and your notoriety follows you around. So you have to keep certain revealed aspects of your character. You have to show those things to any new duelist you encounter, and that gives them advantages in the duel, both mechanically and sort of strategically. It's neat. I mean, obviously in the playtest, we didn't get to do the sort of convention aspect of it, but we played just some duels. And It works great. It's very streamlined. You can finish it in it took us about 15 or 20 minutes. As you're doing the duel, you're gradually, as you're like kind of staring at each other and positioning and doing all that stuff, you're gradually ratcheting up this thing called tension. And as you hit certain points in the tension, you have to reveal like secret history between your two characters, right? And whoever crosses the threshold has to like to detail that part of the story. You have to reveal things about yourself, where you're from, like all that kind of stuff. And it's neat. It's really, really neat. Like it's just a fun little thing. And the idea is you want to see if you can win and survive 5 duels, basically. And if you do that, then you get to retire as a philosopher. It's a really cool thing. I'm super excited it's going to be in the zine.
It's interesting because when I first saw you mention this, I was wondering how it was going to differ from A Single Moment or Reflections, which are the other 2 samurai dueling games. So the convention thing sounds really interesting, and it sounds like it builds up several different stories, whereas I think both of those focus exclusively on 2-player and exploring that and actually kind of making the duel a little more secondary in some ways.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with those games, so I can't speak to that. But this game is very much about the strategy of the duel. Like, that's a big part of it. Like, making the right moves, making the right choices. That's a big part of the game. And the more information you have about the other duelist, the easier that process is, right? Otherwise, you're kind of like going in blind on some things. And you have plenty of opportunities in the middle of the game to basically yield, right? To say, I can't do this. Like, you know, and there's a really neat, like, little tensioning mechanism in the game called future wounds, which is you basically mark off the wounds. This is out of character knowledge, but you mark off the wounds that your character is going to take if it comes to strike. So you know, you have a sense of like how much better the person is than you and how much they're going to hurt you, right? If you do end up clashing swords with them. And that comes through really nicely in the gameplay. Yeah.
I really dig that. That's very classic samurai fiction. I really like that.
The game amazingly captures like this really like intense little slice of samurai fiction, right? Like this idea of like, you know, sizing up your opponent and unspoken histories between you and all that kind of stuff. It's really good at that.
Now, when you would go to a convention, what would be the sort of the play space? Would you find somebody and you'd have to sit down at a table and pull stuff out?
I have to imagine it's one of these situations where, you know, maybe whoever brought the game brings like 10 or 20 copies of the character sheets or whatever, right? And passes them out. And then throughout the weekend, maybe you just like, you run into somebody or you know somebody who's playing it and you guys just go ahead and do the duel, right? All you need is just, there's like a single, like, it's kind of like a little play mat that tracks the tension and has all your moves on it. And then you have your character sheet. So, and a pencil and like 2 dice. So pretty straightforward. You don't need like there's not a lot of like overhead in terms of like what you need to play the game. I'm living for this. I think it's so cool. Like I just think it's really neat. Like it feels special. It feels super low stakes in terms of like, I mean, you can play one of these little duels, like I said, in like 15 or 20 minutes and it's over. And yeah. And like for like what it's designed for, like this sort of like public kind of gaming where you might be like running into people and roaming around. It's really, really neat thing.
Cool. Anything else you want to share about Wind on the Path?
No, just look forward to it. It'll be in Codex Iron. It should be out by the time this is out. So just find us on Patreon.
Very cool. Thank you. Lowell, what have you been up to for the last month or so?
A lot of different stuff for Gauntlet, which made it a little difficult to choose because we've done Dresden Files Accelerated, which I adore in a lot of ways. Great fun. Shadowrun Anarchy, which was a dumpster fire.
Sounds like it was
and
fun.
Then the Watch and Worldwide Wrestling. But the one I want to talk about is Seventh Sea, in part because I did that interview with Liz. And
that was great, by the way. I really enjoyed hearing Liz's point of view on all the work she's doing for Seventh Sea and organizing that gargantuan project. Good work, Lowell.
Yeah, I think she's dynamite. And actually, just to say this, the thought that she's the one doing the lead on Crescent Empire makes me so happy. Because that's my background is in Arab studies and anthropology. So hearing that somebody's doing that, just that has a respect for it makes me very, very pleased.
That's David's background. Did you know that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he speaks. Yeah, David speaks Arabic. My co-host on DR. Yeah.
Oh, how neat!
I have forgotten all of my Arabic by this point, I have to tell you. But yeah. Oh, very cool. So 7th Sea, I ran it for one of the Thursday night sessions, and then I had several people ask me if I would run it again, including Lloyd Gahn, who's great.
And me.
And Rich.
And me.
Yes. And a couple of, so we were doing a Sunday morning of that. The first time I just did it with pre-gens, and this time I did character creation so we could see how that worked, and it was pretty good. So 7th Sea is a reworking of Wick's old pirate property, a very kludgy trad roll and keep system that had a D20 version later and had a CCG. But he's gone back, and he is the best example of a designer going back to a trad game and bringing it up and making it modern. I think besides Mutant Year Zero, he's a really, really good example of that. And I think it's a very, very good game. And also, of course, so the first game I did where the plot was they had to make up a villain and then they had to hunt down that villain, which was good. But this one that I'm doing on Sundays is my homage to Brotherhood of the Wolf, which is one of my favorite movies.
Nice.
So what I really like about 7th Sea is, first of all, it is a compelling setting. The setting material doesn't overstay its welcome. I mean, I've never wanted to play pirates, honestly. I've never cared for this genre, but this made me care, made me excited about it, made me willing to get into it, because it's not historical, and I can get the setting material very quickly. It's a really rules light. The rules are very simple. Once you've got the basics, they're really easy.
Yeah, definitely.
Great clean presentation. And as I mentioned on the interview, very inclusive, lots of different artwork, races, genders, orientations, all through it. Actually, the first time I've ever gotten a weird comment on a YouTube thing was from the 7th Sea one, where somebody was kind of upset about that representation. And I was like, good.
I remember that being a thing when it first came out, right? The new one. I didn't follow the Kickstarter, and everything I know about 7th Sea is just from following you, lol, basically. But I distinctly remember those conversations happening, of people just gnashing their teeth and grumbling over how different it was from the original, right? And sometimes they spoke in very coded ways, you knew what they were griping about. Other times it was just more, transparent, that's not the way it would have been in a historical pirate setting, just all that. So, yeah. Yeah,
it's so weird. But I mean, it's really good. There are many things about these rules that I like. One is that there are very different sorceries for the different cultures. So they have sort of national or sort of cultural sorceries that you have to live in that place. You have to come from that tradition to have learned it. And all the sorceries are incredibly different. None of them are hugely powerful, but they all do very different things and they have very different mechanics. And he's got 7 or 8 of those, which I think is interesting. But one of my favorite bits is that there's some very specific game tech that encourages things mechanically and simple things. The first time you use a skill in a scene, you get an extra die. So it encourages you to switch around between skills. If you make a description of what you're doing, you get an extra die. If you're not doing that, you're leaving money on the table. And there's a thing where if you're making dice sets when you roll d10s, if you have leftover dice, you can sell them back to the GM. You get hero points for that. It gives danger points to the GM. It's a nice little tech that pays off when you've kind of got that stuff left over. Dramatic wounds at the different wound levels. There are 4 of those. At the first dramatic wound, you get extra dice then. At the second one, the villain gets extra dice against you. At the third wound level, your dice explode and get better. So you want to get kind of wounded because it becomes cool and tense. Also, just a little thing that I will definitely be stealing for other games. You have hero points. If you spend them on yourself, you get an extra die. If you spend them on another player and justify how you're helping them, they get 3 extra dice. So there's a bigger benefit to helping someone else.
Yeah, I remember in Sunday's game when Lloyd asked about, okay, so what happens if I help? He said, you get 3 dice. 3 dice? It's significant.
Well, and in the last game we played, there was a moment at the end where Rich went, I'm sorry, I got to spend these points on myself. I want to help you, but right now I'm in a position where I need to do that. And it was a tough choice.
Yeah.
The game has an emphasis on heroism, the aspirations of the characters. I like that when you roll, you're getting a currency you spend in scenes for actions. There's another detail in it that I'm still kind of working through because I didn't use it in the last one. We're just starting to in this one. There's no conventional experience points in the game. Instead, when you start out, you actually write a story. Like, this is my tale of revenge. And I kind of set the premise for it. And I say, what do I want to accomplish? And I write a few steps. The number of steps that you have in that story that you have to complete is sort of how many points worth of a thing you can buy. Like, this is off the top of my head, like, if you have like a 4-step story, it might allow you to buy a 4-point advantage.
Huh, okay.
And you have one story going at a time, and you finish that off. And they can be small things, like Rich wants to get a particular title. So there are modest steps to get up there. And it's very clever. I like that sort of self-defined experience. I want to see how it plays over time. And I think over a long campaign, I would be very curious to see how that would play out.
That sounds really cool, actually. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
It seems pretty neat.
I love the idea of being able to define your own experience. Flags does that in some ways, and some of the other tech we've seen.
Something I've been toying with a lot lately in my I do loads and loads of on the fly home brewing in the games I run, right? Particularly like this month because I was running like stuff like World of Dungeons, right? Which is designed for that. And I lately love this idea of specific fictional markers whereby everybody gets XP, right? Or everybody, or you get XP, and that seems to be like kind of in that same vein. I think it's a super cool thing. Another game does that a lot too that I've played recently. I want to say the Sprawl does that. Like it's got like a really tight fictional connection to how you advance, right? Which I think is super neat.
Yep, Uncharted Worlds does the same. Yeah, I like that a lot. It saves. It's interesting because what Lowell's talking about is individualized stories,
right? Yeah.
Whereas you're talking about the group accomplishing a story. But they're both very interesting approaches.
And I think it actually works a little bit better. It's a little more coherent than I think Letty Blackbird's way of getting development. Those, what are they called, Rich?
Keys.
The keys are great for like a one shot or a couple of shots. I think those actually break down over a long game. That's been my experience. I've used them a couple of times in longer campaigns, and they get a little tiresome. Whereas they're very good and very directive for a short-term play. Over a long haul, there needs to be some other mechanic that you're working in there, or doing something to change it out, or something more rapidly. But that's just my experience. Let me talk about a couple of things that I find I'm still struggling with the game. So, when you go into a scene, like let's say, as we did at the first game, you're in a ship that's on fire. Everyone has to kind of declare their approach, what they're doing, how they're doing it, and everybody rolls these groups of D10s and puts together sets that add up to 10 or more. And those are called raises, so you might get 2 or 3 raises. And then based on those raises, you overcome the obstacles. Like I would say, okay, you need to, if you don't want to be burned by the fire, that's going to take 2 raises. If you want to get out, that's going to take another. And I might say, okay, there are some papers that you might grab. That's somebody who have to spend a raise to do that. It's a very hard scene framing approach. Like we need to stop and set the scene and get those approaches and have everybody roll and then play that out. And I'm still getting my head around it. I don't know if I'm doing it entirely right. I'd like to see somebody else run it to make sure I'm doing it. I'm enjoying it, but it is one of those points where I'm still trying to feel if I'm getting it right. Like opportunities. You get to spend a raise to get an opportunity. Well, what does that mean? What kinds of opportunities are there? The rules are light enough. They don't give a lot of examples of that.
Yeah, it sounds is there like an example of play in the book? I have to imagine there is, right?
Yeah, there is, but it's pretty modest. I would like to see more suggestions of what the GM could put forward as that, or what players would have as a range for that.
I think that's a great, I run into a lot of game texts where they have this really cool tech that's like new or something we've never seen before or heard of before, and they don't give examples of it, right? And you have to kind of fumble around to try to figure out like what it means and how it's supposed to look at the table. So
yeah. And that's the thing. They have a great example of play, but even reading that, I'm like, okay, I want to see how other people are doing this, especially in the flow of a game, because I don't want to, bring us to a halt and then go on. I'm trying to work past that. A couple other minor things. Dueling, I've loved it. I think it works, especially if you give the duelist good things to do. I've heard from other people that dueling gets weird and kind of unbalanced. At least that's what they've said. I don't think it does. Somebody compared it to like Shadowruns, that it's kind of a separate system and that the duelists are doing something very different. I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah, I find that a little... I'm not sure. It's kind of the same rules. I mean, it's just doing the same thing, and other things can be going on at the same time, as opposed to like hackers, or deckers.
Yeah, I've got to look at that. It's also a light enough rule set that I'm very curious about what other supplements are going to bring to the table, because we've got a lot of stuff there, and the design space is pretty tight. I will be curious about how much they kind of blow it up.
Prestige classes for 7th Sea, I'm calling it right here.
Yeah. And Rob Donahue's expressed that concern. We'll see over time.
It is a thing that happens, right? I mean, when you have this, I mean, we saw it in the 90s and stuff, and I assume in the early aughts, I wasn't around then, but like when you're a bigger company and you have like commercial pressures, you got to keep putting books out. It's going to lead to a certain thing, right? I think it's like a constant. I guess the good thing is you don't have to use that stuff, right? I mean, I guess you could just kind of
right.
It seems like that core book seems like it has a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. They put out a PDF for everybody can download with the setting, and then a separate PDF with the rules, and then a separate PDF with character creation. I mean, holy cow. It means that, okay, yeah, if you want to play, you can go and play. And that's crazy. So I really like it. I might bring it to my face-to-face groups to try that out. I've got to figure out, I mean, if I want to do a pirate game, what that would look like versus this kind of heroic adventure game. But I think it's a really good new game. It's solid and worth playing. I'm excited
to give it a try. I just based off everything based off your interview last time with Liz, and then what you've said today, and just a little bit that I've seen here and there, I'm increasingly interested in it. I mean, it helps that a lot of people who I like in our space, of our sort of vector of the hobby, are working on it, which I think is great. Mm-hmm. And I think I think the reason why I haven't checked it out, to be honest, is just because it hasn't lost the veneer of the new hotness yet, for me. So
yes.
I think we're maybe reaching that point where we're, maybe I can kind of like turn to it now. But I guess I was kind of biased during the Kickstarter, because I was like, this just looks like a big glossy thing that I'm not going to have any interest in, right? Like this Numenera part new.
And I did the same thing. I backed it, and then I was like, nah, I'm never going to play this. Yeah. And oh my God, do I regret that decision.
It's cool to hear. Yeah, I may have to check that out. It's good to know. Good to know.
Rich, what do you think?
I love 7th Sea. I know that a good aspect of it is that you're running it, Lowell, and you are, just from all the hitting the heavy bag that you've done with Fate, you know how to run multi-character fights in an interesting, story-driven way. I also feel like the tone of 7th Sea is well suited to your sweet spot as a GM. So it's a perfect marriage of, yeah, this is the game that Lowell was born to run. And I'm like, before game, I'm like on YouTube watching how to do French accents so that I can do less crappy with my French accent, so that I can kind of keep up to the level of awesome that he's bringing. I really enjoy it.
Side note, having played Fate with Lowell, I will tell you that my theory about Fate, that it requires a good GM, I think is proven, because I've had more fun in those 2 sessions of DFAE with Fate than any other session of Fate I've ever had, like ever played in. Like far and away. Like, now, mind you, that's not a huge hurdle to clear for me, but but it's been great. Like, and I can tell that like it's your familiarity with the basic system, which is helping ease that up a lot, you know? So yeah, I guess I'm just throwing that in there because I know it's something else you ran this month, but anyway, to piggyback on what Rich said.
It's also been a great week for accents for me. Actually, this between Defay and 7C, it's been really fun.
Oh man, yeah. There was a gunsmith, and like, man, 2 words in, I'm like, okay, I love this guy. He's the best. He's the best NPC. We must go back to the guns. I'm going to buy a gun now just so I can talk to him. So good. Well, thanks. Anything else you want to share about 7C?
No, I've gushed enough.
All right. Over the last month or so, I have run Inspectors and Side Run, both for Gauntlet City Limits. So I had someone who recently asked me what Gauntlet City Limits was. Let me do a quick reminder. That is the monthly, bi-weekly game that I run. It's all set in a single campaign city called Gauntlet City. It's all modern setting, generally light in tone, small book games, prefer indie stuff, and, you know, no PBTA, because there are other games out there, and I got enough of PBTA. I mean, not enough as in I'm done.
Yes.
Not enough as in I'm done.
You have a whole show. Right.
I do. I have a whole show. And so I also played Shadowrun Anarchy. It is a dumpster fire, but I loved it anyway because I got to play out Orc, and I don't care. The Watch, which is really interesting, and I'm so glad that I got to play it before and went ahead and backed it right away. Masks, surprise, surprise. Dylan stepped up to run Lady Blackbird for the Gauntlet, and that was super exciting to have a new GM for the Gauntlet group. And 7th Sea, of course. I've played 3 sessions of that. 4 sessions of that now, counting the character creation. I can't get enough. That's all good. But the game that I want to discuss is called Impulse Drive. Impulse Drive is a PBTA game. It's emulating space opera, and the kind of space opera, you may not even call it space opera. It's sci-fi in the vein of like Firefly, Mass Effects, kind of Guardians of the Galaxy. Got a group of characters on a starship that are working jobs and keeping themselves moving. It's free and in beta on DriveThruRPG right now. And the short version, like TLDR, you should go download it because it's free and it's worth checking out. Here are the things that I really like about Impulse Drive. It uses advantage and disadvantage with assist moves. So instead of the +1 forward, which, you know, I kind of have like an in on loving that terminology, it uses advantage dice. You roll 3 dice, keep the best 2. Disadvantage, you roll 3 dice, you keep the worst 2.
More games are doing that, aren't they?
They are. That seems to be the thing. That
I've been seeing it all over the place.
It is.
Yeah.
And there's definitely some benefits to not having to go, okay, I got a +1 from this, a +1 from that, +1 from that. No, do you have advantage or you don't have advantage?
And you never remember them anyway.
Right. Right. Oh, you got a +1 for the next time you roll, and I never remember it. Like, never.
No one ever remembers it.
But the other thing about advantage and disadvantage that I personally like is that the assist move, it's very clear how it works. It says you roll it beforehand, and there's actually a mechanical reason for it, because when you successfully assist someone, say that 10 times really fast, you give them advantage. So doing it beforehand means, oh, I get another die to roll. I kind of like that. The new tech for Impulse Drive that I haven't seen anywhere else is the cycle of damage, harm cycle. You take harm in boxes that have narrative and mechanical consequences. There are only 5 of them, and if you get the 5th one, you're dead. That's it. You're gone.
Wow.
But what's cool about that is that, and harm from weapons is pretty high, like 2 to 3. So you can get knocked out in a fight really fast. And the but is what's really interesting. You have a stress track. You can move harm to stress, and when you fill that stress track with 5, it has 5 boxes. When you fill that stress track, you get an XP, which is currently called an advance in the game. And then, this is the really cool part, you mark a calamity. So the calamities, to me, this is the super cool tech, because They are a mix of mechanical impacts and story hooks that are specific to your archetype or your playbook. For example, the Warhorse. You will have a list of 10 calamities. The Warhorse will have 10 specific calamities. For example, your allies in the war, because you're playing the Warhorse archetype, your allies are under siege and call for reinforcements. That's you, right? You mark that calamity, that's going to happen. It's a story hook. Another one is you're given an opportunity for a great victory at the cost of a part of your body. An eye, a limb, etc.
Right, yeah.
And there are cybernetics, right? So it's just, it becomes less of the, well, now you can't do this thing, and more of a, is there a social stigma to people who have obvious cybernetic? Are there things where you have to pay more upkeep because of this gear that you carry around? And so it really can take the story in interesting directions. And it also shows the level that Warhorse is willing to pay for victory. And it's an opportunity. It doesn't say that you have to make that choice. Once you fill up your calamity, then the character's retired from play. And so I really like that. And the Warhorse, those are just a couple of calamities from Warhorse, but the other archetypes have very specific to what you would imagine their story would be like.
It reminds me of Night Witches, right?
Yeah.
Night Witches does that. I mean, Night Witches, like during the night part, you mark that. I don't remember what it's called on the Night Witches sheet.
Oh, you're right. Oh, man, that slipped my mind.
List,
but it does.
Yeah, like all good tech, Jason Morningstar invented it, right? There's a there's a list of like playbook specific like fictional things like that you can mark off, and like the last one you can mark it off whenever you want, but like eventually you'll get to the last one, which is you retire your character, right? So yeah, it's a cool feature. It's on my brain right now because this little thing I've been fiddling around with in my own like kind of like spare time of game design uses a really, really similar like thing. It's a fun bit of tech, and I like how it sounds. Like I wish all PBTA games used it. I think it's super cool.
Wow, I totally forgot about Night Witches. That's funny because I've actually played a couple sessions. So back to Impulse Drive, I really enjoy how the game has, without expressly saying this is the setting, it has a nice way of mixing spacefaring, science fiction with alien bits. The mechanics have rules for action, exploration, and kind of a psychic oddness. There's an alien stat. The archetypes are super cool. I want to play all of them. They aren't just Han Solo with the serial numbers filed off. The takes on archetypes have flexibility, so you can really make them your own. And just selfishly, right, I like Bulldogs. I think it's a really cool world setting. I would love to take a lot of the Bulldogs adventures and setting bits and the ports of call, which is an awesome supplement, and playing Impulse Drive with it. It's really cool. So there are a few things about the game that I don't know if I necessarily say it doesn't work, because one of them is really specific to our group. I've been playing with the Intercontinental Group of Awesome, and we decided to use Andrea. You guys remember Andrea from previous podcasts. We used the process, which is a really neat way of starting from scratch and building up setting and situation and characters using a tarot deck and kind of a writer's cue book that she has and a few other rules that she's cooked up. And so we generated our setting before we ever had a game system. And Impulse Drive is what I really wanted to try out. It isn't a perfect marriage because Impulse Drive really wants you to have kind of a small, scrappy ship. The ship has moves. There are things you need to do to upkeep it and the like. And what we had generated for our setting was this life ship, like a generation ship that was going off to a distant colony. Not, some of the short-term working jobs and those duties process that's baked into Impulse Drive doesn't necessarily work as well. What's great about that is that Adrian Thoen, who is the designer of Impulse Drive, has watched our YouTube videos, and he went and built a colony ship for us.
That's great.
That's good.
He said, this is really neat. And he created a colony ship, so I tweaked all those rules and embedded them into our little Google spreadsheet thing. And so that was super sweet, and it's neat because it's afforded us the ability to start exploring that rule set. And that gets me to the other part, that just to be advised, there are a lot of moves.
I was going to ask about that, actually.
There are
That's another trend lately in Powered by the Apocalypse games.
Yeah.
Is tons and tons of moves.
I'll be honest with you, back in the day, that's what scared me away from the Sprawl. I looked at like 25 plus what looked like basic moves, and I'm like, I can't keep up with this. This is
especially when you add the hacking in, right? Yeah, when you add the hacking in, like that game balloons in a huge way. Yeah,
it does. And so just be mindful that there are ship moves, there are group moves, there are character moves, and so there's a lot, and they're all spread among different packets of information or in the main book. So when you download the thing, it's going to come with like 6 attachments. Don't be scared. You will need to read through it. I would just say go through main book clean. There's another layout that comes along with it. I just read the clean because it's easier to read on my computer screen. And use what you want. That's the coolest part, is that you could say, well, I don't necessarily need the ship moves because our people aren't driving the ship, so I'll just narratively handle that. And it's fine. It's plug in or bolt on kind of stuff. So
that's what I did with the hacking stuff in the Sprawl eventually.
Yeah.
Because I had such a hard time with it, like initially. I got better at it, but like for the first few sessions, I was like, guys, I think I just want to hand wave this and just do it like act under pressure, basically.
Yeah.
And let's just keep it in the fiction. These games don't break when you do that.
No,
that's
the cool thing about PBTA is it's not absolutely intricate that you have, okay, well, this is cool. It's what's funny about it is sometimes I'll just be reading through and go, oh, what a cool move. I'll have to keep that in mind. I'm going to angle towards that fictionally because this move looks really neat. So that's been pretty cool. The other thing about Adrian, he has a Google Plus community. He is active on it. In fact, Max from the Gauntlet gave him some feedback about that advances, the thing I said where advances are XP. And it's been tough for me because I'm used to advances being the thing that happens when you get 5 XP.
Yeah.
And that's just me, right? I'm coming in with my own assumptions, and I'm trying to stay mindful of that, but it is a little bit of a block. And so Adrian was open to the possibility of looking at other things because to avoid confusion, Max came on and said, hey, why don't you do this? And who knows, that might be baked in because he's really is actively engaged in making this the best possible game. I think it's really great. I like Impulse Drive a lot, and it's definitely worth a download since it's free.
It sounds pretty dope. Yeah, I'm being. I didn't know anything about it till just now. I literally was not on my radar at all, and like I'm loving a lot of this, particularly the little Night Witches bit. Right, like the
yeah.
That's fucking cool, right? Like that's neat.
Yeah, I'm running it for Intercontinental Group of Awesome, and on the edge of talking myself into doing a play-by-post of it soon, and it's probably going to be my Gauntlet Saturday Morning Cartoons offering coming up in June.
Wow, it's big high praise. Yeah, that's good. Like it's you're moving it to all branches
all channels
of your gaming. Right, that's pretty
Deploy
good.
all batteries.
No, that's
Rich,
awesome. It sounds badass.
The other sci-fi PBTA game, the other big one is...
Oh, Uncharted Worlds?
Yeah, and that game, when we talked about that, it felt like it was trying to do lots of everything sci-fi. Space sci-fi, it was trying to do that. And PBTA, we've talked about before, sometimes is stronger when it has a kind of fictional base, a dramatic focus.
Real specific, yeah.
So is that kind of what's going on here? Does it feel like it is aiming in a particular kind of fiction for you?
Absolutely. And it's almost what caused a little bit of cross purposes for us early on in playing it because we wanted to do this colony ship thing. It really is about, hey, it's not a tramp freighter. You're usually doing combat-oriented stuff, especially because you want to introduce the calamities and the stress, which means that you need to have a little bit more danger going on. There isn't a baked-in setting, but there's definitely a point of view, and I think it makes it easier to engage it, and I think that it's a kind of game that I can pick up and play a lot more easily than I could in Uncharted Worlds.
Okay.
Yeah. And what's great, right? You can have the Veil and Headspace, and you can have the Sprawl all in the cyberpunk milieu. You can have Uncharted Worlds, and you can have Impulse Drive, and you can have Star Wars World, or whatever Andrew's going to call it when he files off all those serial numbers, and those can all exist too. Okay, cool. Well, that's all I really had to say about Impulse Drive. So let's go on and move to hear from our sponsor. This episode of the Gauntlet Podcast is sponsored by our friends at Nocturnal Media. Now, for the month of April 2017, Nocturnal Media has a brand new Kickstarter up. I'm super excited about it. In fact, I twisted Jason's arm so that I could come on and talk about it. It is Talislanta, the Savage Land. Now, for an old gamer like me, you might think of Talislanta from old Dungeon Magazine articles, which proudly proclaimed no elves. Talislanta came out in 1986 originally. And the original setting for it, which came out over 20 years worth of content, was 1,000 years after a cataclysm. And it was very fantastical. It wasn't based on your normal Tolkien kind of European medieval fantasy. It was more based on the fantasy novels of Jack Vance, as well as the Elric series by Moorcock. And that was where it really had its heart. Now, one of the things I most fondly remember of Talislanta is the Jaka race, which is this wolf panther anthropomorphized hunter type. And oh man, they were awesome. I played a Jaka. Well, I took the Jaka and revamped it into Star Wars D6 for a character that I played one time, which is awesome because Talislanta the Savage Land has 3 versions of the game that will be coming out. The Talislanta, which is a version of the Omega system, I believe, which is pretty cool because it has 4 levels of success on a simple D20 roll. And then you can also, if you want, get it in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, or hey, Open D6, which is the D6 system that I used when I played Star Wars. I'm really excited about this, and the best part about it is if you're interested at all, the buy-in is $5. $5 to get any of the 3 PDF rules systems that you'd like. Lots of cool tiers and stretch goals that they've already blown away. So give it a look. Talislanta, the Savage Land. Other thing is, this is kind of a prequel to all of the stuff. So you don't know Talislanta? That's okay, because this is set right after the Cataclysm. And it's kind of a magical post-apocalypse, which is kind of awesome for those of us who like PBTA type of games and settings. Beautiful art, 23 different races that you can play, and they all look amazing. There is even a webcomic that's coming out coinciding with Talislanta Savage Land. So if you want to immerse into a really interesting, rich, detailed, and unique setting, this is the way to go. Check it out for sure. And thanks again to Nocturnal for sponsoring the show. It's giving me life.
It's not bad.
I'm trying, Jason. You know, I need to listen to more past episodes and just mimic that like a macaw. Jason, what's giving you life?
So, the 200-word RPG challenge is giving me life. Actually, I just want to talk about it because I may not have another chance to talk about it on the show, so I'm going to take this opportunity right now. I don't know if it's giving me life yet. Maybe in 3 weeks when I'm reading 200 entries, it may not be giving me life then. But
that's 4,000 words.
I do want to bring it up, though. The Gauntlet is really heavily involved in it this year. Kate and I are both judges in the competition this year. There are other judges as well. But on top of that, David has managed to wrangle a huge prize package for the winners this year. Like the winners of the 200-word RPG challenge are getting so much mileage out of their 200 words if they win. There are going to be 3 winners. There are PDFs and game things like there are every year. But this year, the Gauntlet is offering a couple of things in the prize pool. One of the prizes we're going to be offering to the winners is they will get to make an appearance on the show. So we'll have them on. We'll talk about their game, and that'll be awesome. The other prize is we're going to pay for art and layout for their games, put it in Codex, but then let them take the art and layout for their game and sell it or do whatever they want to do with it.
Nice. That is cool.
Very nice.
Cool.
Yeah. So
being on our show, but art and layout, yeah.
So, yeah, those are our contributions for the prizes. I know a lot of people in our community are excited about it. Don't talk to me about it because I'm a judge. I can't be talked to about it. So this is the last thing you're going to hear from me about it. But go do it. I think it's going to be really cool.
Awesome. Nice. Yeah, we'll put you in the cone of silence now, Jason. Lowell, what is giving you life?
So Netflix added seasons 2 and 3 of the Great British Bake Off, otherwise known as the...
I've already downed them.
Yeah, British
We watched
baking
all
show.
3 seasons like in 2 nights.
Oh my God. So yesterday we were watching an episode and they got to the judging part of this puff pastry thing, and I literally grabbed this towel and wrapped it around my head because I was so terrified of how they were going to critique her puff pastry. I was like, oh shit, I can't watch.
I just cry while I'm watching it. Like, yes! I'll be watching it. I know. I'll be watching it, and I'm just like, I'll just like be so into their emotion about their, their meat stuffed pie that had a soggy bottom or whatever, and I'm just like crying along with them. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so sorry.
It's so good. It's so gentle. As Sherry said, if every reality show competition were done like this, I would love it. The characters you enjoy, you're sorry to see them go. Each season, the jackasses are cut first.
Rich and I have cracked the code. The very first contestant who's always eliminated on every season is a younger, kind of a dirtbag guy.
Yeah.
Right? Every season. Like, it's always.
Yeah. And it's fun. I love cooking. I really do. But I effing hate baking. It's literally the part that I just cannot stand. I make cookies under duress, but I hate bread and all of that. Pastries and so awful. So watching this, I'm like, oh my god! And they're gonna laminate the layers. Oh shit! Oh my god! Marzipan again? Oh, I don't think you should. You should have put more gelatin in. This is Sherry and I talking to the TV throughout these whole things. So,
that's going to have a soggy bottom.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can always...
the
filling of that, the fruit is going to leak all the juice while it bakes. It's going to be soggy bottom. Yeah. Mary's going to be so upset. Yeah.
So good. If you like any kind of food stuff, worth watching. Just fun. So that's what's giving me life.
Awesome. What's giving me life? I'm going to tell a quick story about gaming and music, because that has definitely been giving me life. For a Smallville game that I've been playing over Play by Post, I wanted to explore a character that had the legacy of, like, Miss Martian or Martian Manhunter had shape-changing, and so I wanted a character that looked androgynous. And I found a picture of a model named Harmony Boucher, or Boucher, I'm not sure. She's British, not French. I don't know. Very attractive. Turns out that Harmony is the member, or has been, probably no longer is. They haven't put out music in a couple of years, of a group called Vova Vultures. And they are totally giving me life. So they have a number of songs. I'd love it if we could link one or two of them. The videos, because she's a model and very comfortable with her body, right? They do all kinds of crazy, very artsy, like 80s MTV music videos, which have all these crazy psychedelic weird images with like mouths for eyes for her, and weird her model friends come in and do bizarre, odd photography video stuff. It's mind-blowingly weird, and it reminds me of old videos that I used to mainline. And the music's pretty good. I like it. It's crunchy, grungy, with her voice that's very light, so it's a nice mix. And I've listened the crap out of one of the YouTube albums, Push Pull. I looked at it, and it has only like 5,000 views, and I really think I'm like 20% of those views, which is sad, but because that means I've listened to it a whole lot. But that's been giving me life. I really enjoy music with gaming, and one of the best parts of Play by Post is people can post in YouTube links to music that's going on during your scene, and I just love it. I love it.
I love this sort of like musical theme of your Don't Rest Your Head thing you're doing with Paul. Like that sort of, I don't know, like just talking about like the cross sections of music and gaming, that just reminded me of that. Like I really dig that aspect of your guys' AP. It's super cool.
Thank you. Yeah, the fourth session I really liked because we kind of talked through the music cues that we wanted to use. And because he's looking for Holly, the fact that the music all has a little strong bass line going on, and she's the bassist of the group, that was a choice that Paul really pushed for.
Touch,
he knows his music, so I love having him on to advise me on those cuts.
The other thing I mentioned to you, I don't know if you noticed, Tales from the Loop, one of the things you have to do in character creation is choose your character's favorite song.
Oh man, Kate did that for a Monster Hearts 2 game. It's so great.
Yeah, that's great tech.
That's awesome. Well, guys, I think we've come to the end here. Listeners, thank you so much for giving us a listen. As always, Lowell, if you want to find out more from Lowell, check out his award-nominated Ward many times. The Susan Lucci of gaming blogs. That's a deep cut.
Yeah.
For old people.
I got it.
Age of Ravens is the actual blog. Let me name the blog. And co-host on Play of Target podcast, which is excellent. Mostly because your wife's also on there. No offense, Lowell.
No,
but
she's awesome.
Let's be honest. She's like the superstar of that show.
I agree. Give you that.
How else can people follow or track you?
I'm at EDIGE23 on Twitter, and I'm also on G+, and I have a Patreon. Any of those things you can check out.
Absolutely. His Patreon is for history of gaming by
Really
slice
cool.
and
Yeah.
deep knowledge. It's so cool to see all the games that I will never get to play.
Yeah.
So
Cool
cool.
and important. Like, I don't think anybody's doing this, right? Like, there's no one chronicling these things. I think it's super.
Yeah, there's data out there, but I don't see people pulling it together except for sort of nostalgia bits and pieces.
Right, yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Jason, where can people find you?
I'm mostly just on G+ as far as my role-playing game stuff goes. Just search my name. I also run the Gauntlet Twitter at Gauntlet RPG. So whenever that Twitter account says I or me, it's referring to me directly. So,
Excellent.
Every time I tweet like that, though, I'm like, I wonder if they know it's me, or do they think it's just like some entity called the Gauntlet that
The personification
speaks
of
to us.
gaming
Exactly
says.
right, yeah.
Well, folks, if you want to know more about the Gauntlet community, please find us on Google+. You can find us as a community for not only the Gauntlet, but Gauntlet Hangouts, which is where you can find games to play with us. Or if you have the money, you have the interest, we have a Patreon that's ongoing. That's how you can get access to the Codex when it comes out. And, of course, Gauntlet-RPG.com is our website. Thank you all so much. Thank you, guys. Thanks, you,
Rich.
listeners, for listening, and have a good evening. So do the higher level patrons get access to a better build? Because it's pay to win?
Ooh.
Yes, $10 patrons. Their samurai is wreathed in flame.
Nice. That's it.